Welcome to my channel. My name is Vitali, and I just want to share a little bit with you about just who I am and my story. So I was born in Ukraine and came over in 1989. I was 12 years old. My dad had spent 10 years petitioning the, at that point, Soviet government, and was persecuted fairly severely, being thrown in jail a number of times. And I grew up as a kid seeing my dad being chased, taken away from our home, and not knowing exactly what was happening. And so spent 10 years petitioning to leave the U.S. In 1989. The Soviet Union's kind of on the on the brink of falling apart, and it does. But so we arrive in the U.S. in like September, I think, of 1989. I was 12 years old. I would turn 13 in December of that year. So I have a little bit of a different perspective. So I grew up in a Christian home. That was the primary reason why my dad was petitioning to leave the glorious land of USSR, because as believers, we wanted to be able to worship freely. And of course, that was not the case. We worshiped regardless, but it was not what we would consider freedom, and in the sense that we as Americans now understand freedom to be. And so that is my background. And so part of the reason why these days, when I hear people denigrating this country and how supposedly, racist and all sorts of other things that this country supposedly is, it actually is very hurtful to me to hear that, because I actually understand what growing up in an environment or in a country where just to be able to attend a religious service, just to attend church, would be a significant problem, and it is something that you could be jailed for. So, and I grew up back in Ukraine, or in the Soviet Union. We lived in Ukraine, but at the time it was the Soviet Union before the Ukraine had its own independence. That came a little bit later. But we grew up in more of a Pentecostal church setting. And then as we came to the U.S., we started attending a Baptist church. And so as I shoot some of these videos, I want to be able to share my history, but also my learning, and kind of looking at church as a structure, the things that we know, whether it's denominations or organized aspect, versus being born again, our relationship with Christ, and just that daily walk, just that, how do I do what I do? So that's a little bit of my background, and I've served in Christian ministry all my life, in different aspects and different capacities. And so I love the Lord. I love serving His people, and I love sharing and teaching from the Word, as well as just what I think and what are the truths that I've learned over time. I think one of the things that really comes to mind for me is the idea that when Jesus came, he had a very, very adversarial relationship with the powers that be at the time. So the Pharisees, the Sadducees, all the people who were keepers of the Torah, keepers of the law, and keepers of God's word, and the people that should have been the people that should have been enlightening everybody else and bringing them closer to God, they were really not. And Jesus really has some very harsh things to say to the Pharisees and those around him, who, of course, did not like him whatsoever, and looked for every way possible to not only undermine him, but to kill him, and eventually succeeded. Of course, that was a part of God's overall plan. But so I wanted to kind of take that and look at it as in today's society or today's world and different parts of the world. There's kind of the overall big church versus denominations, right? I'm Baptist, I'm Assemblies or Pentecostal, Catholic, Lutheran, and all these different things. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing to look at and to see. And then everybody, of course, has their opinions, their ideas of why they do what they do, what those things are, just like they did in in Israel when Jesus came, and Jesus made it very clear he was not just a teacher; he was God. He made that claim over and over, right? So anyway, just a short introduction as to who I am, and my goal is to share videos and to tell the truth and to help you to just think about things. And part of why I brought up that thing about Jesus and organized religion is I think religion complicates the simple truth of who Jesus is, what he had done. When Jesus came, remember, the first announcement of his arriving was to the shepherds, the lowliest of the low in society at the time, because Jesus came and available to all. And we continue to read throughout the Bible, the wisdom of the world cannot lower itself down far enough to understand the simplicity of the salvation message, right? We want to make it more complicated. We want to make it more, we want to have lots more rules. We want to have lots of other things. So I'll be sharing more on those things individually in different videos, but just wanted to kind of give an intro and let you guys know who I am and why I'm doing this. And the biggest reason why is because I want to share truth. I want to be able to put the hope that, as the word says, the hope that is within us, to be able to put that out there for people who are maybe searching, maybe struggling, maybe even have been around church or Christians or grew up in Christian families, but have actually found some of those things, religious things, whatever we would call them, found them to be a major turnoff for one reason or another. And so they have sort of turned themselves off to God because of that. So I want to share that and want to be able to hopefully speak the truth and the love of God into your life. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you stick around.